Welcome to Theater Talk Boston. We are on location at the Huntington Avenue Theatre, where the first national tour of The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson Musical, is playing through this Sunday, July 28th. I'm joined by two very, very talented members of the cast, Mr. Ryan Knowles and Miss Shyvonne Stewart. Hi, folks. How you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having us.
So for those who aren't familiar with the story, could you tell us what it's about?
Sure, it's a tale as old as time. You know, it's a young kid who doesn't know his place in the world, is trying to discover his own identity, and like so many of us do, he figures out that he is the son of a Greek god, and now has to go on this incredible quest to not only discover parts of himself that he didn't know existed, but to also save the entire universe. So which one of us hasn't gone through that?
Of course. Yeah. What was your first experience with this story? I remember reading the book growing up as a child. Did you guys read the book? Did you see the movie? Or were you just completely new when you heard of the audition?
I was actually completely new when I heard of the audition, and when the show was playing in New York, I was actually working on a cruise ship. So I was in the middle of the ocean, so I didn't get to see it. I was familiar with Percy Jackson just from hearing about it,
Right.
but I hadn't read the books or seen the movie or anything like that. So, of course, as I was doing the audition process, I did my research and figured out what it was about, figured out what the heck I was auditioning for,
Right.
so I could also figure out how to take these characters into the audition room. So it was new to me.
It's awesome. What about you?
Yeah, it was new to me. I knew the property, and I work with kids in speech in high school for a very long time. So I'd skimmed the book because one of them was performing an excerpt from it, but I never really read it, and so and I didn't read it until I got the job. Because I figured, I get what they're going for in the sides
Sure.
of the script that they sent for us for the audition. But yeah, so then once rehearsal started, I read the first one. I have not read the rest because I said I want to wait until the tour is over, and then I'll tackle the rest of the incredible series.
Interesting. Great. Could you tell us a little bit about your characters? Because you both play many different characters in this show.
So my main character is Clarice and others. So she's the daughter of Ares. So she is a warrior, and she's a fighter, and she doesn't take any crap from anybody. And then I also play Katie Gardner, who is the daughter of Demeter. So of course she is more granola and earthy and a little bit of a hippie, but we all love her. I play a statue, a squirrel, who's also costumed as Katie Gardner, so it kind of fits. I play a dolphin. So yeah, they're pretty fun, and definitely trying to keep them different. I also play Talia, who is the daughter of Zeus, who obviously got killed, and of course comes back later in some of the books.
Spoiler.
Yes. If you didn't know that, if you didn't read it. But then, or you can cut that part out. And then I also play Bianca as well.
Right.
So another half-blood, and then Sweaty Camper, who is a kind of random half-blood.
That's great.
I play 9 characters in the show. Most of the monsters and gods, like Poseidon, Hades, Medusa, and then a lot of smaller characters. A helpful farmer giving the kids a ride on his tractor, and assorted other things, including the voice of Kronos, the big baddie in the show.
Yes.
This show has so much heart to it. What do you want audiences to take away when they come see it?
I think, at least for me, the greatest message about this show is what makes you different makes you stronger, and I think it's really speaking towards that aspect of adolescence that every one of us has gone through, where we feel different, when we feel ostracized, or that we don't fit in and we don't know our place in the world. Everyone can relate to that. You don't have to be a demigod to realize what a struggle that quest can be. So I think that's what people both find to love the most about the show, as well as the show's real crux.
Right.
And I think another message that people should really take away is female empowerment. A lot of our female characters are very strong, and they bring something to the world too. And although the world challenges us as females, we don't have to take that. We know who we are, and we know what we bring, and we have something to offer as well. And I think that that's a really good message that particularly women of color, anybody who feels like they're constantly put at the bottom of a totem pole or the bottom of a ladder, don't let society put you there. Fight for your place in the world as well. And I think also if you're not the outcast in the world, you know what? Befriend anybody. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to be with all the popular people all of the time. You don't have to always stand on a pedestal and push other people down. Everybody brings something to the table, and so we should all honor each other's differences no matter what we feel like our place is as well. And I think that's something that people really need to get a hold of, like all the bullying and things. And that doesn't matter if you're 12 or if you're 75. It happens on all ages, at all age ranges. And I think that we really need to kind of get a handle on some of that.
Now, Shyvonne, you were the understudy for Clarice, and then you took over the role full time. What is the process like being an understudy on the tour? And could you tell us a little bit about the first time you went on?
Sure. So the process of being an understudy. So it's definitely difficult because you are mainly during the rehearsal time, you are there for all of the rehearsals, but you're sitting on the side taking notes. So we have our big binders, and we're trying to take notes as much as possible. Most directors and choreographers out there, of course, will let you learn the choreography with the rest of the group so that you're all learning this sort of stuff. But you're really teaching yourself on the sideline and really taking the material home and practicing it on your own as well, so that way you can always be ready. Before I went on for either track, which was the Sally and Others track and the Clarice and Others track, I had 2 rehearsals and then 1 put-in. And for those who don't know what a put-in is, it's really just running through the entire show with costumes and the other actors on stage. And so it's basically like having 3 rehearsals and then you're on. And sometimes you don't get that. You don't always get that in a place. Sometimes somebody may get injured or sick before you even have the opportunity to have a single rehearsal. And be able to go on. But we did have scheduled ones for this because there's so much fighting, there's so much tech on stage, moving of things that really have to do with a lot of people's safety and making sure that things happen in a safe, appropriate manner. First time going on was definitely for either one. I would say my first time going on, even for Sally, was probably the most nerve-wracking because it was in D.C. where I was born, and so I had a lot of family and friends there, and even old students because I used to work at Georgetown. And so, of course, I was super nervous to perform in front of all of them, but it was really great. And then the first time going Clarice, I was really nervous because she has a really big fighting scene, and the last thing I wanted to do was accidentally injure somebody.
Sure.
So that was probably the thing that I was most nervous about, and then just making sure I had enough stamina because she's a beast to get through, and it's hard when you're not doing it every day just to make sure it's not obvious that you're tired.
Of course. And Ryan, what was the process like of finding all of your different characters? Because as you just mentioned, Chiron is very different than Medusa and Poseidon, which you nail all of them.
Thank you. That's actually my favorite part of, that's the reason why this has been the most fun show that I've ever done to work on and to be a part of. Mainly because one big reason for that is the number of characters and the opportunity to fully flesh out so many different characters is what I like best about acting, I think. And so some of them were quick, like Chiron, I think I got immediately. Like I just knew, he sounds like this, he moved. Now the moving that we, myself and our wonderful choreographer, Patrick, worked on choices, and there are lots of different ways a horse's bottom half would move. Sure. Whether it's a dressage horse or a prancer or a trot or a gallop or whatever. We use quite a bit of those in the show. But so that came really quick, and then the hardest one to nail down, and then Poseidon came pretty quick because it's a character I know that guy. I know that guy. Same reason why I like Big Lebowski. It's like, I know that guy. But Hades took a couple of goes. I think at the first read-through on the very first day of rehearsal, I didn't know what I was going to do yet, so I just did a default evil deep voice, and I thought, well, that ain't going to work because that's too on the nose,
Sure.
So we tried a few options, and then I remember I came in one day after watching Hollywood Squares videos and from the 70s, and I walked in and talked to Stephen Brackett, our director, and I said, I think I got an idea. I want to do Paul Lynde. And he said, all right, that's either going to be awesome or terrible. Let's try it. And so we tried it out, and it killed. And I went, all right, awesome, we got our Hades. And of all things, the center square of Hollywood Squares in the 70s.
Well, and that's the great thing about Brackett is that he really lets us like experiment with different things. Like,
I always say his reaction to absolutely anything you'll say in a rehearsal room is gorgeous.
He'll be like, let's try it.
And it's great because then everything's on board. And if it's, like I remember he told me once when I had some idea of what I thought might be funny, and it clearly wasn't. And he went like this: I love it, but no.
Well, it was the same thing with me. Like I had a very different intention for Mrs. Dodds and what she was doing at the beginning than what Sarah Beth did. And I outright asked Brackett, I was like, so do I have to do the exact, and he was like, no, what's your idea? And then I told him what it was, and he was like, I love that. Go with it, because he's like, it'll work for you on stage, and it's fine if you both have different intentions. It'll be great. And I was like, thank you.
We're blessed with pretty much everyone associated with the show. It's very collaborative, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a good show and so much fun to do.
So the tour is coming to an end soon. Very sad. What's your first plan when you're done? How are you going to de-stress from life on the road?
I'm getting my hair done. Because I have so many wigs that I wear no matter what. So my hair has been sitting in twists like every single day. I really like to wear my hair, my hair out loud and proud, Afro girl. So I'm getting my hair done, which will be nice to do because she needs a trim very badly. But also I've been subletting my apartment, my room. So it'll be nice to just like unpack, sleep in my own bed on my own mattress. And so just get resettled. I'm also going to go to Nashville and visit my grandmother. And I'm meeting my parents there. So that's one of the things I'm doing too when I get done.
That's great.
Well, first thing I'm going to do is get massages and cook. I love to cook, and being without my own kitchen in my own home.
Right.
So I'm going to be making some fancy feasts coming up.
And I'm coming over.
And then me and my wife, strangely enough, you'd think I'd be sick of traveling, but traveling for work is different than traveling for pleasure. So we've got a bunch of trips scheduled and going to go to Europe and enjoy being together.
Love that. This show has a true cult following like I haven't seen in recent times for an off-Broadway show and a national tour. And I don't know who runs your social media, but it's truly wild, and I'm in love with them.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
How are audiences and fans reacting to this show? Because when we came for opening night, it was crazy.
It's a really positive environment. Even, for, most of the tour, of course, I was an understudy, and even when I did get to go on, like, people would say, I've been following you on social media. I was so excited when you said you were going on. I was excited for you to perform, because a lot of times people get, like, disappointed with understudies. But we're expected to do the same job.
Sure.
Essentially, even with, like, less practice, for real. But I think that, they've given us such positive feedback about how true to the book it is, and how we've been able to carry along some of these characters that people really love and adore, and people's interpretations of them, and how we've kind of kept the spirit of the story and what it's really about, and what people have gathered from the empowerment behind these stories and behind these teenagers and children and even adults in these stories who have saved the world in their own way, and how that's translated to them as they've grown. So I have not met a fan who has not been supportive or loving or just amazed and astounded by the production, and we really appreciate them. They're amazing.
Yeah, simply put, our fans are great. The Half-Bloods are awesome. I've never seen anything like it. They're all over social media, and it's always the most positive sentiments, not only about the show or your performances, but about each other and what's going on in the world. And they're just a positive, special group of people, and we're very, very lucky to have them.
That's awesome. I just have to ask nothing about the show, but Shyvonne, I was looking over your resume and watched some amazing videos of you as a reenactment actress in some of those true crime shows on TV. And I just wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about those experiences.
Well, one was really funny because it wasn't even one I submitted for. So the one where I played Brenda, I submitted for something completely different. And then the casting director, who I knew previously from something, was like, hey, so we don't want you for this, but can you do this other one? And I was like, for what? And sent me this. I literally did my audition over Skype, which was, interesting, like from my bedroom. And I was like grabbing random props, like improvising. But it's really cool to do that. A lot of them aren't necessarily scripted in a way, so you really have to kind of take what they're giving you and kind of make it your own, and try to figure out like the storyline, take the storyline basically, and try to really become that person. So it's very interesting trying to like be somebody else, particularly like as they're talking on the screen and you're portraying them.
They're crazy.
Yeah, but it's a cool experience, and I definitely hope to do more like on camera work. It was really fun. And the other one I did, like it was a bunch of like Black women together, and the director loved it because she was like, this was so natural for you guys. We were like, well, we just spent like 2 hours downstairs all bonding. So we're all friends now. And it's actually, we all really do actually keep in touch from that one day of filming. So,
That's so funny.
Yeah, so it can be really good time. It's a lot of sitting, a lot of hours like sitting, waiting to like actually go on set, but you can meet some great people doing that.
That's great. Finally, we don't want to take too much of your time, but one question we ask all of our guests on Theater Talk Boston. You both are seasoned actors. Do you have any fun onstage mishaps stories where like a set falls down or something goes terribly wrong during a performance? Or are you guys perfect?
Far from
Of
that.
course we're perfect. Duh.
Yeah, not from this show, but one thing that spurs to mind was I played the genie in Disney's Aladdin, and there was this huge moment in Friend Like Me where this giant staircase is coming down, and they're like 20 dancers dressed as genies, and at one point it just shook and locked, and it was clearly, the mechanics had malfunctioned or something. Everyone just paused, and then every dancer just booked it to the sides of the stage and ran off stage. And I was left on stage on top of a thing with a spotlight on me, complete silence, the music had stopped. And and I just looked off to the side, and my mic was on, and I went, cowards. Come on. The first thing that goes wrong, you just run. But it turned into a fun little thing where it just vamped down at the stage. It's like, no, you stay and you fight.
That's
But,
awesome.
Yeah, and there's lots of mishaps with this show because we have so many things happening, but on the ship one time, we actually were in really bad weather, and we were in the middle of the show, and they had asked us if we wanted to not dance in heels, but we said no just because our jazz boots were a lot more slippery. But all of a sudden, probably 5 minutes before the show ended, we hit this huge wave, and when I say we were on the biggest angle that we could probably be in on the ship, and all of a sudden we just see the entire ship slide, and you hear just like and we have an in-ear, so I'm like, what is that noise? And it's all of the glass and plates and everything like that on the ship just crashing because all of a sudden this just wave hit us so hard, and of course then all of a sudden the music dies, and we stand there, and then they make an announcement. I worked on a German cruise ship. They make an announcement in German that basically says we're getting off the stage, and we hear whispers of "get off the stage" in English because we're like, we don't know what they're saying.
Oh my gosh.
But it ended up being an all hands on deck. Every crew person had helped like clean up the ship. They sent all the passengers to their rooms just for safety concerns, and it's an interesting memory, but I'm a Navy brat. It happens.
For sure. Well, I just want to thank you both for taking the time to speak with us today. Everyone go see this amazing show that's playing through Sunday, July 28th. Get your tickets at huntingtontheater.org, and there's great student rush available. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.